we will have a couples fellowship this Thursday, and it will be at the home of Brother June and Sister Ellen. That's this Thursday, right? Which is the 25th. And so if you want to know where they live, it's over there. But we'll send information by email and put it on Facebook and Instagram. They live in South San Francisco. And our special guest for the Couples Fellowship will be Pastor Steve Merpuri, who was just here a couple of Sundays ago. And he's going to bring a word to us, and we're looking forward to that. Also, we want to remind you that the final payment for those of you that are coming with us to Israel is actually coming up soon. And we will need it August 4. So that's going to come sooner than later. And so plan to bring your payments with you. We will have a table outside where you can work with that. And as always, if you have any issues, any problems with payments or anything, just talk to us. Let us know what's going on, and we'll be more than happy to work with you. Before I bring the word, I actually want to make room for something good for you to hear today. I was with a bunch of very young people this past week, and I think, was I the oldest there? Or was it Jonathan? So, I think I was the oldest there, and I spent some time with about 25 or so young people, and we were up in the mountains in Boulder. What was it? Boulder Creek. Who knew there was a place called Boulder Creek in California? And it was up in the mountains, and the one thing I was not prepared for, it's the middle of July, I thought it would be hot, right? So I brought like a really, really thin jacket, just in case it would be cold in the morning. It was cold. and so I was a little unprepared for that. But just being with young people, it was very good, and to see what God was doing in their lives. I enjoyed it for a number of reasons. Number one, I hardly did anything other than just keep an eye on them and sit in the back and just be the old person, that always reminds them to behave themselves. But just to see them just be in their element and operate in their gifts and thrive in their responsibilities and just grow closer in their relationships with one another. And so I wanted to give them an opportunity, whoever wanted to just share a little bit about their experience for you to hear, because I know a lot of you here supported them. You supported them with prayers. Some of you sponsored some of these young people, and I'd like you to hear about what it did to them and the impact of your ministry and your generosity in their lives. So there's I think the best way to do this is to call them by groups. We broke them down into 3 groups, and they were all named after condiments. Believe it or not. So we had tapatio, we had honey mustard, and then we had Chick-fil-A sauce. Isn't it? Isn't that what we had? Okay, so I'm just going to call one randomly. Is tapatio in the house? All right. Can all of you who are with tapatio come forward? I want the people to see you. So just stand right here. And so how many of you are from the group? Just 3 of you today? Okay, so a couple are not here. But this is a portion of the tapatio group, and I wanted to give them maybe 2 minutes, maybe to just share a little bit about what camp meant to you and what impact it's had on your life. And again, if any of you don't want to share, there's no pressure to do so, all right? But any of you want to start? Just come forward or get the mic. This is Josh.
Okay, really quick, just want to say, Pacquiao won last night. So please get up with me. Anyways, camp was really, really fun, and it was just a great opportunity to get away from the realities of life and just spend time in reflection in the Word of God, just learning about His Word and how great He is. And it was a great opportunity to get closer to these group of people and once you get to know them, they're really cool. So, yeah, if you're really considering on going to camp, I would just do it. Just don't think, just do it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Man, I'm proud of you, Josh. Proud of you. You're my brother. Alright, pretty sure you guys are familiar with me. I'm Kyle Guzman. Camp, man. So many things. This was my second youth camp, but this was by far the best one, you know. I feel like I've connected with God, you know, more. It wasn't easy, because, you know, in the past I always struggled in my relationship with God and my faith. Because I would always be on and off with my daily devotions and reading the Bible, but just after camp, I just like, I feel reborn, you know. And I really thank Tapatio for pushing me and, you know, making everything feel comfortable. And I want to thank the whole youth to come, you know. Man, we thought like numbers were the problem, but numbers didn't matter at all, because all that mattered was that we were all able to talk to one another. And, you know, just like that, we all, I don't know, it's just crazy how God can like push all these people into one group, and that we just feel so comfortable that we just don't care whatever we say, you know. I'm really excited for what's to come, and again, I want to thank you all for supporting us. Yeah.
Hi. So camp, it was something very, very hard for me, because it was like my first time and I didn't know what to expect, what to do. And then they told me, they're like, oh, you're gonna be one of the cell leaders. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? Because I was like, I expect in my head being a leader would be a standard, or like kind of someone to look up to, and just to be able. And I was placed with the younger kids, and I know, like, I've always had the heart for the kids, and just being able to be an athlete to them and just to help them. I've seen them grow in that span of 4 days, and hands down, it's one of the best 4 days of my life. I've seen each and everyone, not only from my group, but each and everyone from the youth, got closer to God. It's just, especially during praise and worship, each and everyone singing their hearts out. Like, that was like amazing. Just being able to just see everyone, witness everyone, be in the same room with everyone that has the same heart for God. It's kind of like very uplifting, and we felt God there. And I think just being able to see one of like the kids, all of the kids open up to us when we weren't even, I always tell them, it's like, I know we want to be revived and everything, but we also have to be revived within us. And just seeing that there, we're getting closer, we're so open to one another. It's very, I know it's God's work. He's moving in our youth group. And to just hear those kids and their testimonies, it's very, very powerful and inspiring. Just to know that, oh, God is with them, and now they have us to open up to. And camp is really the best. You should always go on one if you ever had a chance to.
Let's do honey mustard. Who's honey mustard? Oh, this is a bigger group. All right, who wants to go first? Jake, are you volunteering? Who's the leader? Owen, go first and then introduce us to you.
Yeah, like, it was cool being in this group. We usually go to camp, and then like we're like, oh, we're so hot from camp, then it just goes away. But I really feel like God, like Jesus was saying in the parable of just the people that build their faith on the sand, and then there's a great collapse, and then there's the people that build their faith on the rock. And I really felt like he was building our foundation in this camp.
in terms of, you know, look at our generation. It's so corrupt. They say that for you guys' generation too, but ours is like really bad with social media and everything. And I really feel like he called every single one of us out into this camp. And they're like, he just really just, the Spirit was just flowing, man. The Spirit was just flowing. And we were at the baptism. I think it was just crazy. Because when I was baptized, I didn't really think of it that much. I was just like, oh, I'm just going for a swing. But like, to see like, this, you guys know Isaac, like he wasn't going to get baptized. 2 people were supposed to get baptized initially, but it ended up being 6 people. Isaac, he was wearing pants, and he was like, I don't have time to get my swimming trunks. I need to get baptized right now, because nobody's going to wait for me. But he just went to get baptized. And I thought that was really cool. And it's cool, just really cool, and you're like, whoa, those are like citizens of heaven just kind of swimming around and praising each other. And last thing I want to say is just like, God reached like the toughest hearts to reach at this camp. Like, I'll say that one more time. God reached the toughest hearts to reach at this camp. The people that you would never expect to be praising God. When we got down from the mountain, they were just like singing in the car. It's easy to do it when you're in praise and worship, but to leave camp and still praise God, that's like amazing to me. So, yeah.
Hello. And I'm a confident person, but I can't help but be like anxious when I come up here. I feel like every time I am up here, it's because Joel's too late for the love offering. So it just brings back bad memories. But this camp, man, I've been to 4 already. At 3 before, you know, I tried to get into it. But it's just something I go to just be a part of, you know, to be around friends. I wasn't really full-hearted. And this campsite specifically, I've been 3 times. And I feel like God always brings me back when I'm going through like my toughest struggles. So being back here for like the 3rd time was really refreshing. Like I had a change of heart, like even coming into this. So coming out, like I really felt myself progress. So also I want to give a shout out to, where is he? Josh, because Auntie Rochelle came up to me and she was like, she told me like, hey, like, I really want Josh to come to camp. Like, can you talk to him? I'm thinking like, well, I barely know this guy. Like, it's gonna be kind of difficult. He might be like hard-headed. Like, I don't know what to expect. So I'm outside. I'm getting kind of nervous. And man, it took 2 seconds. Like, not at all. I said, hey, Josh, go to camp. I said, okay. And then he came. And out of everyone there, I was so proud to see Josh specifically, because I feel like a lot of us have been in the youth for so long that we know each other, but Josh is like relatively new. Like, he's been here for a while, he's still relatively new. He doesn't know everyone like we do. So just to see him grow and like just really fit into our family was really like heartwarming to me, because it's like, we got a new Josh, you know? Anyway, thank you.
Hi. So this is my first regionals camp, and it was definitely a new experience because the adults weren't taking over, it was the youth, and it was very challenging to see people who don't really step up have to take leadership. And even myself, you know, I got the opportunity to lead the games for field day, which, thank you, but yeah, it was really new coming into the camp, because I thought that, oh, maybe like I'd take a break just to like relax, but no, every second of the day I thought about God, and it was really touching, you know. And I'm just so thankful that I got this opportunity, and I have parents, hi parents, that just trust me enough, you know. I know I come home late, I'm so sorry, but it's for the Lord. I might be late tonight, sorry. Okay, yeah, it was really uplifting to see not only others, but myself grow with my faith, and able to make it this year might come to the next one and feel the same way that I did. So, yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna make this quick. Hi everyone. We as a youth group feel like we've been given the task by God to start a revival because the Bay Area is so massive, and someone gave the statistic of only 5% regularly go to church in the Bay Area. So this camp, we were really challenged by God to start this revival within our own youth group and then spread out. And I've seen revivals in so many different people in this youth group, and I've been so blessed to have gotten to know so many people and be close to them. When I first moved here, I was asking God a lot, the reason, the purpose beyond just my career of why I moved here, and I think I was given the affirmation that I came here because of this youth group. Like, this is my purpose, and I've just been so blessed, so thank you.
Role models for me to, gosh, what do I even say anymore? One, no one told me we had to wear our shirts. No. Anyway. I'll say this once, and it was my first time to ever cry over prayer at this camp. I feel like God just put the Holy Spirit in me, and it lit a flame that hopefully will never go out and it will spread to others, because I felt so touched at this camp. Even now I'm speechless, because camp left such an impact on me that, gosh, honestly, I just wish more people came to camp.
First, I kind of didn't want to go to camp when I was like already paying for the service. It was pretty fun overall. I feel like people got strengthened in different ways. That's pretty chill.
By the way, if you saw that our campers came back with nicer eyebrows, that's Hannah. That was her ministry throughout the camp. And then finally, who did I miss out? Is it Chick-fil-A sauce? Come here, Chick-fil-A. Ethan, you're going first?
So, camp was amazing. Like, we bonded as a youth group, we grow, it was so much fun spending time with them. We played a lot of games, we played with each other, and God's amazing.
Especially Mia, like I don't see her all the time, and I'm thankful that I got closer with the girls. I'm able to like just influence and sharing their testimonies. It was so heartwarming, and I'm so thankful that I've met everyone here.
Morning. So initially, when going to camp, so we planned this like with four months, and that's pretty short. You know, usually with camp you're supposed to plan like almost a year ahead. So so we had our goal was around 40 people, but we had like around 20. But the week of camp, you know, some people started backing out. We started to get less people, so I was like, oh man. But you know, in camp I learned that, you know, it's just a number. And this became one of the most powerful camps we've had. You know, like we said in camp, you know, sometimes I think for revival, we need to start from the inside out. So starting with our church first, we need to get to revive ourselves first before we revive other people. So I mean, it was really great having like a small group because we all got to know each other on a very like intimate level. You know, we all got so comfortable with each other. Even the little ones, I'm really proud of them. Like, it's amazing because like a lot of the little kids were really shy, but then you know, after camp, seeing that change and seeing God's grace, you know, it's amazing to see them that they're so open now and they're really like a part of the youth, you know. And yeah, and for me too, it kind of ignited a spark back to me, and I believe by God's grace that I will like keep that flame going and make it instead of just like a little flame, I'll make it like into like a fire, you know. And hopefully with that, I could, you know, reach out to others, and I could be there for my youth.
Spirit moved in that camp. It really did. I'm just so thankful for God, you know, because for each and every second that we were there, didn't even felt hungry, didn't feel tired, felt sleepy, but like, even with just 2 hours of sleep, I just felt that something was just telling me, keep going, keep moving. I guess it's safe to say that God allowed us to be revived in the camp. And I even had like an idea of what the bonfire on the last day meant to us. I'm gonna share a little bit of the Old Testament. I remember when back in the Old Testament, God's presence was known through a flame, through a fire, whether it be with Moses in the burning bush or in the tabernacle. And before the people were purified through Jesus, they weren't able to go to God's presence. But on the last day of camp, for me, we were now allowed to go around the flame and be revived. And now the fire in that night lives within each and every single one of the youth. And I keep saying this, but it's only through God and through God alone. Yeah, powerful. It's always only up to God.
Hi, I'm a bit sick at the moment, so, and I didn't wear my shirt because I didn't think I'd make it today, so, yeah. My experience at camp was very uplifting. I got to, like, I hang out with these guys a lot during Fridays, sometimes up to like 12 o'clock, and I'd get home late. And it's really fun getting to know them more through games and through worship and seeing all of them just like have a fire and connecting to God. And it's really uplifting because I want to do the same. So I follow them basically. And then when I experienced it with them, it felt so nice and it felt satisfying to me because, yeah, I got baptized too because of them and because of God, I wanted to be baptized, and I'm committed. So yay! And I made a lot of ates and kuyas, and they really care about me a lot, and it's really helpful that I know that they're always there for me.
And everyone from the 3 groups? Oh, you want to share? No, she didn't. How about Isaac? No? Is Mika here? Oh, she's not. All right. So if everyone that wanted to come share, there's 2 people who have led this camp. I wanted to come here, Joel and Jonathan.
Amen. Glory to God. Yeah, man, camp was awesome. Camp was awesome. I really thank God for the opportunity. It was my first camp here in America and my first camp in like forever. Yeah, seriously. And I really thank God that, you know, He showed Himself so awesome, so powerful at the camp. I mean, like, you know, no words can, you know, tell you guys what happened. I mean, I honestly can't tell you guys what happened, but it was just amazing. It was powerful, and it was all because of God. You know, one of the wonderful things that God gave us at the camp was He gave us purpose now. You know, He gave the youth purpose. You know, gave youth vision. Gave, you know, empowered the youth for so many things. You know, and He's like continuously developing that in us, and I just thank God for that. You know, on the last day of camp, there's this one thing. You know, we had so much fun for the whole 4 whole days, but there was this one thing that God impressed in my heart through Pastor. He said, "He who goes deeper goes farther." So, you know, we shouldn't be able to, you know, just be satisfied with what we experience in camp. You know, we should just continue whatever we've started, whatever our habits were. We waking up early in the morning for devotions, you know, just, you know, studying God's word and everything, just worship, you know, just nonstop. You know, we should continue to do those things, because if we were just relying on what we experienced in camp, it only would take us so far. But if we continue in doing what you started at youth camp and through the years, you know, just continue to seek God, continue to be, you know, in a constant spirit of worship of who He is and acknowledging Him, you know, we will truly reach the, you know, the finish line, and He's our prize. Amen.
Okay. This is, so I've been going to camp for past 10 years now. I started when I was 13, back when we still went to LA. But this is my first opportunity to be the camp director and to actually be in charge of everything. And it was a lot of work. No one told me it'd be that much work. I thought you just showed up and had a good time. But it was definitely, I was definitely, I won't say shocked, but I was surprised
to see how much this really meant to these campers. Because I just remember the months leading up to camp. We did start planning camp a little later than we should have. And I was really worried about the numbers because we did need to get at least 40 at the time. And we got 23. It was 23 campers. And I just remember being like, we don't. That's not like we still need more people. But then that was the final list. So I was like, all right, like we can work with what we got. But it ended up being like one of the most amazing camps I've ever attended. I mean, and I just remember I wasn't as stressed at camp. You know, the months leading up to camp were crazy. I just remember waking up every day and like, what do I have to do now? Like, what? But when I started, like, I was like, oh my God, I still need to ask someone to speak this workshop. I need to send the campsite this thing. It was like every single day, even like the week leading up to it. I remember, like, even like in the times when I'm relaxing, like I remember just playing 2K, and people were constantly texting me and messaging me and emailing me. I'm like, should we bring this? Like, can you do this? And I was like, yo, I'm trying to get my player up to 75 right now. Like, stop bothering me. But it was definitely worth. Like, I can say for a fact it's all worth it. You know, in the 10 years I've been going to camp, I've never seen a camp like this. You know, and as much as I want to take credit for everything, I know it's all God. You know, like, if it was up to me, if it was all on my own, I wouldn't have been able to do this. But because I had so much help from the youth, I had so much help. Shout out to Josh Lopez, Winesby, my man. You know, I just thank God so much for this opportunity. I thank God for just making this happen. You know, again, I didn't know how much this would mean to the youth. I thought just going in, like, I was really worried. I was like, I don't think this is going to go well. We don't have enough people. I don't think I'm prepared at all. Like, I really didn't even want to, like, lead it at first, but God, I just felt God saying, like, you got to do this, man. Like, if you, like, this is what you have to do. And you have to be the one to make this happen. So I was like, okay, fine. I didn't really think much about it until, like, we got to camp. And the first day, like, went really well. I remember meeting with the leaders at night. I was like, I think that went pretty well. And they were like, yeah, I think that went pretty well. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, let's keep doing that. Like, yeah, let's keep doing it. Let's keep making sure it's good. And, like, yeah, and it ended up being a really great camp. Of course, I wish more people could have come. You know, but in the end, like, it was such a blessing to be there. Thank you again to, like, everyone who helped out. Just, you know, and I can't wait till next year, because next year's only going to be better. We'll get more people, even if we don't, like, it'll be cool, just us again. But yeah, I just want to say glory be to God. Thank you.
Amen. It's good to hear from them. It's good to see how God has brought them together. As always, we trust that beyond just times of going away and hearing from the Lord, that equally important is them coming back here and living out what God has spoken to them. And so I just wanted to share a passage of Scripture to kind of tie this all together, because a lot of this is very personal to me as well, and to Anna, because I haven't always been an old man. You know, there was a time when I was young as well, and so were you. And in particular, in my younger years, encountering Christ in my younger years was so formative and so important and so foundational to what eventually became my life journey. And so, you know, that's why I'm encouraged whenever I see young people. You know, I tell parents all the time, when we announce a camp or an event like this, you're not even supposed to think about it. You know, as a parent, you're supposed to say, oh, there's a camp. Yes, my kid will go. And if there were any previous plans, we'll work around that. Because the wrong way to think is to say, let me see if we're available. No, you're available. Because this is important. This is a God encounter. This is God wanting to meet your young person, your child, your teenager. And nothing else is as important as that. Because many other things that will go on in your young children's lives can be handled at some other place and in some other time. But meeting with God is important. When God invites you to the mountain, that means He wants to speak to you. And as parents, it's our job to say, I want my child to hear God's voice, because that is what will carry them to adulthood. Any other activity can be met in any other way and at some other time. But this missed opportunity is a missed opportunity. And that's why this is very dear to me. And this is very special to me. When I was a teenager, just like with any teenager, we face very serious issues, one of which is insecurity. There's a survey that shows that 80% of young people are insecure and 20% lie about it. Because the truth of the matter is we're all insecure. Let me tell you something that's true as well. It doesn't end with childhood. Even as adults, even in your 40s, even in your 50s, even in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, we deal with insecurity. We deal with a sense of inadequacy. And that sense of inadequacy can only be met when God encounters you in such a way that you find purpose in Him. And so I want to share, as we sort of wrap this up, a passage that I was introduced to very early on in my walk with the Lord, and it's really stayed with me. And it's really kept me to where much of what I survived in life and ministry is largely because of an understanding of this. And it's found in 1 Timothy chapter 4. As many of you know, 1 Timothy chapter 4, 1 Timothy as a letter, was written by the Apostle Paul. It was written to a young man at that time who was named Timothy. We're not exactly sure how young Timothy was, but we know that he was young enough that Paul was able to call him my son in the faith. My son in the faith. This was someone that Paul raised as a disciple, that Paul trained. And Timothy was in a very interesting situation. Timothy was not a pastor to begin with. Nobody is. And so he was really more of an assistant and an associate to Paul. Paul was the apostle. Paul was the one everyone knew that God had called to be an apostle to the Gentiles. But he was always surrounded by other people. He was surrounded by Titus and Luke, and Timothy was one of them. And who are these young people surrounding Paul? They were his associates. They were there to help him do his job. Maybe their job was as simple as carrying his luggage, so that as he aged, he did not have to worry about that. Sometimes their job was to go ahead of Paul and make accommodations to where would Paul sleep, where would Paul eat. And that was their job, to make sure that Paul was able to do his work. And in one particular episode, Paul and Timothy are traveling, and Paul stops in a place and he starts a ministry, and he tells Timothy, can you stay here with these people for a while? I'm going to go to Macedonia. I need to take care of something there. And then I'm going to come and pick you up, and then we go home. Well, unfortunately, as Paul travels, he realized he's not going to be able to pick up Timothy at all. And so he has to write Timothy a letter. And you know what this letter is about? He's going to tell Timothy, Tim, I can't pick you up. You are now the pastor of that church. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine just being asked to accompany an apostle, and then he says, can you temporarily just hang in here, make sure people are okay, and then the next time you get a letter, it says, you're the pastor, you're stuck there. That's your ministry. What's Timothy going to do? Well, there's several factors that are a problem for Timothy. Number one, he did not have the intention to be a pastor, right? His intention was to serve when he can, to help, to do whatever Paul wanted. Number two, what he had going against him, he was young. And it wasn't just true today, it was true then, that young people have it hard. Young people are intimidated by a lot of things, which is grounded on their youth, on their age. And so Paul was aware that Timothy would face this fear of How can I pastor this church when I am young? Are the older people going to listen to me? Are they even going to respect me as a leader? You know, if I'm in my 20s, is a 60-year-old church member going to listen to my sermons? If I say, let's do this, are they going to do that? And so that was an ongoing fear for this young minister. And in chapter 4 of this letter, in verse 12, look at what Paul told Timothy. He said, let no one despise you for your youth. Did you hear that? Let no one despise you for your youth. But set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. See what Paul did here? One of the things that is true of being young today or young once, right? You remember being young? You remember being 12, 13, 16, 18? And what do old people love to do to young people? Old people love to despise young people. Old people love to despise young people. Why? The older we get, we develop a sense of superiority. And it comes with age, it comes with experience, it comes with things. That's why when you see a young person do something, we always say, oh, young people. You know, yesterday, you know, my wife and I, we love buying antiques. And so we went to the antique store to buy an old rotary phone. You know, we're not going to use it, we're just going to display it. And when we went home, our children were there. And they're like anywhere from 18 to 23. And we told them, hey, show us if you know how to use this phone. And so they were tinkering around with it. And, you know, the first person that tried to dial and then lift the receiver. Because that's how cell phones work, right? You know, you dial, then you put it, you know, to your ear. So this young person was like trying to dial and then put it up. And he said, no, you have to put it up first, right? And then another one tried and, you know, tried to dial it with their whole hand. Shh. You know, they didn't even know what the little holes were for. And then another one didn't know how to take it as far back as it needed to, the stopper. You know, and we all know that when you take it to the stopper, you let go and it goes back. But they were doing this and then forcing it back. So, you know, we had a little fun. You know, Anne and I were kind of snickering, right? But then I realized that's how we treat young people all the time. We despise them, we make fun of them. You know, we say, oh, look at these kids, what do they know? And we develop this sense of, I know better, I'm better than you, I'm more experienced. And so sometimes subconsciously, we old people, we despise the young. You know, when we see them rallying in the streets, we say, what do they know? They're young and they don't know what they're talking about. You know what Paul said? Kids, don't listen to them. Don't let old people kill your spirits. Because sometimes it's out of our own insecurity that we are becoming irrelevant as God is raising a new generation. Sometimes we tend to push people down when we cannot rise up higher. We don't want them to be taller than we are. You know, when boomers and Xers make fun of millennials, it doesn't speak bad about millennials, it speaks bad about boomers and Xers. Because that means we have nothing positive to pass on to them, so we simply make fun of them. It doesn't reflect badly on the young when we despise them. It looks bad on you, and it looks bad on me. Our job is not to put young people down. Our job is to lift them up. Our job is to teach them, equip them, encourage them, push them to do way more than we were ever able to accomplish in our lifetime. And in your part, your job is to not let anything despise you because you are young. But that's not enough. You don't let old people despise you because you're young, but conversely, you are to set an example. Did you get that? Don't just say, oh, old people, what do they know? Don't despise us back just because we despise you. You're better than that. When old people criticize you, when old people despise you, your only job is to prove us wrong. Your only job is to rise higher than where people want to put you. And Paul says, here's what you do. Set to the believers an example. Isn't that powerful? You know what Paul is saying? In your youth, you be the example to the old people. Wow. All this time we thought we were supposed to be their example. All this time we're supposed to teach them about discipline and decency and hard work and purpose. But what Paul says is, no, no, no. Let the young people show us how it's done. Let them be an example. Do you know that whenever we despise the young, we are criticizing ourselves? Because we created the world in which we are criticizing them for living in. You know, when old people say, look at those young people, they're always on their phones. Guess who gave them those phones? Think about it. Look at these young people, they don't play outside anymore. They're always watching video games. Who bought them those video games? Who's not buying them bicycles? Who's not buying them basketballs? Who's not buying them frisbees? Who's not buying them volleyballs? Old people. We buy them the stuff that we criticize them for. And so when we criticize them, it is a reflection on us. And their job is to show an example to how we should behave. Listen to this. Be an example in speech. Be an example in speech. The words from your mouth. Speech is also written. So your Snapchat stuff, your Instagram stuff, your Facebook stuff ought to reflect your faith. I see too many young people and old people worshiping God on a Sunday, but when you follow them on social media, it's pure junk. But they're going to be an example to us. They're going to show us how it's done. Be an example in speech. That means don't mumble. This is a problem with old people, right? I don't understand kids. They mumble. Hey, what you doing today? There's two problems when you mumble. Number one, we have old ears. Okay, this is serious. We have old ears. We don't hear the way, you guys can hear. Our ears are old, so you need to speak louder to us. But number two, you need to talk clearly because, and I tell this to my children all the time, the point of communication is to be understood. Right? The point of the communication is to be understood. If you're going to communicate with no eye for being understood, then you've wasted the communication. And so, one of the reasons you guys mumble, one of the reasons young people mumble, is insecurity. I'm not sure I'm going to say this right. I'm not sure it needs to be said. I'm not sure, if it'll be accepted. But they need to be an example in speech. Their speech should be confident. It should be sure. It should be well thought through. Because they will show us how it's done. Paul says, number two, be an example in conduct. The way you live. The way you live privately, the way you live publicly. Show us how it's done because old people haven't been very good at it. You want to know why I believe we old people have not been good at this? Look at the world, it's messed up. Who's running it? Old people. And so we're not good at it. Our politics is a mess. Our entertainment industry is in a mess. Our business and economics is a mess. So we need young people to start showing us how to do it better. You got to be an example. No excuses because you're young, right? You need to be an example also in love. In love. You know, our generation, we're not very loving. We're only loving towards selected people. But sometimes when they don't look like us, or sometimes when their lifestyle is a little different than ours, or maybe they're from a place that we don't like, we don't love them. Young people are showing us a better way. Boundaries are breaking. Color lines are disappearing. People with all kinds of disabilities that we used to look down on. Now, in my age, when I was young, we used to make fun of people with disabilities. If they were different, there was always a name for them. People got known in school for those names. That's how mean we are. That's how lacking in love we are as older people. The older we get, the more cynical we become. But young people are going to show us a better way. They're going to show us how to love. They're going to show us how to love people who are different than they are, who look different, who have a different color, who have a different way of life, who have a different philosophy, who have a different ideology. They're going to show us how to love them anyway. Because they're going to be our example there, right? Not only in love, they are to be an example in faith. You know, the faith that we are passing on to you, you're going to be better at it than we ever were. Your messages are going to be better than what you hear preached and taught in this church and around the world. You're going to reach more people in your generation than we are reaching in ours, because you will be an example in faith. But here's what you don't forget. Paul said, be an example in purity. Do not let the world corrupt your soul. Because what did you learn about revival? It starts from within. Where does purity begin? It's not in what you wear. It's not in the food you eat. It's not in the outside things that you work on. That will happen when it starts in here. If you are poor in spirit, if you're pure in heart, then that comes in your speech, that comes out in your behavior, that comes out in how you treat other people. Do not let anyone despise you because you are young, but there's a message in it for us. Do not despise them because they are young. Hello, old people? We need to stop putting young people down. We need to stop looking down at them. And we need to start building them up. Because one thing we learned in camp, what was observation number 1 in David's life? I will die. That's the first thing I taught them. That's the first thing I taught them. That the number 1 thing you need to remember in life is you will die. You will die. No one lives this way forever. And chances are, we will die before they do. For the most part. That means when we are gone, the future of Bridgepoint, the future of the church, the future of the kingdom is in their hands. And that's why we cannot despise them. And we cannot keep putting them down. But we need to build them up. And we need to educate them. And we need to teach them. And we need them to show us a better way. I want all of you to come forward here and fill this place. I want this altar to be full of young people. You can go all the way there if you need to make room. And I want you to look at your parents and your titas and your titos and your uncles and your lolas and your lolas. I think there's more space here. And I want the rest of you to stand. And old people stand. Thank you for finally acknowledging that. And you know what? I want you to come and stand in front of them. Because you're going to pray for them. Everyone out of your seats. You're going to pray for these young people. You're going to make a commitment. Old people, come forward. I don't care if you've been with this church 10 years or 10 minutes. I want you here lifting up these young people. Stand as close as you can to a young person. You know, spread yourself out. Keep coming, and let's make sure that every young person is prayed for here. I know there were young people sitting in the back as well. We'll pray for you. But can we make this commitment as a church? We are a church where we do not put people down. Whether it's for their color, or their age, or anything that they're struggling with in life. This is not a church where that's permitted. In this church, we build people up. You know why? Because Jesus built us up. Have you ever heard the saying, the young people are our future? That's not exactly correct. We are their future. We are their future. Think about it. We are their future. The world we set up for them. The attitudes that we demonstrate to them. The words that they hear from our mouth. That's their future. Because they will follow after the example and the modeling that we give. So you and I we better watch ourselves. Because what did you notice about young people? They watch us like hawks. You ever felt that young people don't listen to you? That's because it's partially true. They don't always listen to you, but they're always watching you. They don't always listen to you, but they're always watching you. Please, please, give them something good to watch. When they see you interact with other people, let it be a way that they want to treat other people as well. When they hear words come out of your mouth in times of joy and anger and frustration and pleasure, make sure it's something that they can also do in their lives. And pray for them every day so that they will be, as Paul said, an example to all of us. If you're in front of a young person, lay your hand on their shoulder. If you're not close enough, just lay your hand on the shoulder of the person in front of you. And then there's a connection. And let us pray for one another. First of all, I'm going to give you about a minute so that in your own words, you can just pray for the young person that you're laying on. So go ahead and pray for them. Father in heaven, we thank you. We thank you for always giving us the young to remind us of what you can do in anyone's life. And sometimes we look at the young and we see their inexperience, and we see their struggles, and we see their shortcomings. And the easiest thing to do is to despise them. But you have given them to us so that they might be a model to us. In their speech, their conduct, their love, their faith, and their purity. And I thank you for every young person here in Bridgepoint, Lord. Lord, in the days that I spent with them, I heard struggle, and I heard insecurity, and I heard trembling in their voices. But I also heard you pour out your Spirit upon them. And you are reviving them from within, and you are filling their souls, and you are transforming them in everlasting glory. And I know that you will raise each and every one of them to a place where you will be glorified in their lives, and that they will make an impact and do your will in their generation. And even from among this group of young people, would you call some to be apostles and prophets and evangelists and pastors and teachers? When they have fear, teach them to put confidence in you. When they do not have words, put your word in their heart. And when they are weak, may your Spirit give them power. Anoint them. Use them. Change the world through them. And be glorified in them. On behalf of those that are older than they are in this body of Christ, forgive us for when we have despised them. Forgive us when we have not modeled faith properly. Forgive us when our words have betrayed them. Forgive us when we have not shown them a better way. But from this moment onward, we commit to pray for our young people every day. We commit to support them where they have need. We commit to stand behind them and lift them up and teach them and equip them and be proud of them. And when our time comes, to be confident that they are able to very well pick up from where we leave off, because your Spirit is with them as well. And the future of not only this church, but your church, your kingdom, is secure. It is secure because Christ is King. And it is secure because as our King, you have poured out your Spirit upon all flesh. And so we pray for the future of this ministry, not only here in Pacific or the Bay Area, but around the world. In all that we do, be glorified. And this day we especially pray that you be glorified in the lives of the young ones. Thank you for giving us each other. And may we truly support and pray for one another, even as we leave the walls of this church. Keep us in each other's hearts, and be blessed in everything that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And thank you for fellowshipping with us. Thank you for coming to this place of worship. Before you walk out of this place, this is officially Hug a Young Person Day. So make sure that you